My name's Troy Covey. We're right here in our new Motoped facility. We moved, as you guys know, we moved, changed locations here, and now our production facility is located here in Kansas City, Missouri. Just moved a few miles down the road, and standing here with me is we have Dan Talyor, who is a retired insurance businessman, and 65 now, was 64 when you did the Transamerica Trail.
64, yeah.
Last year, last July, doing it again here in just a few
do it again
weeks.
with my brother-in-law.
With your brother-in-law, and then standing here with me, my friend, the gutsy one,
maybe
retired Lieutenant Colonel for the U.S. Army, and Dan and retired Colonel Jeffrey Givens went on the Transamerica Trail last year in in July, and did the unthinkable. Took off for hundreds of miles on two Motoped Survival Bikes, and when I say unthinkable because you guys didn't really have real bicycle or motorcycle experience.
We were pretty much newbies, neophytes. I had not ridden before, but I did take a motorcycle safety course, which my brother-in-law didn't think was necessary. He paid for that later. I'm sure he'll tell you about that. But so that's about all the experience I had. Very little, and you had practically none.
I've ridden some mountain bikes before, but I had never been on any two-wheel or small four-wheel deal that had a motor on it.
So,
and I mean, as I told Dan when I started this, I said, you know what? I said, let's just go do this. This looks like fun.
So you guys,
and yeah.
So the Transamerica Trail, just for anybody that doesn't know, Transamerica Trail is a trail that goes from essentially the East Coast.
It's coast to coast. Yeah.
North Carolina.
Coast to coast, yeah.
Well,
to Oregon.
One place starts in North Carolina. Another segment of it actually goes to.
There's segments across each state, but it goes basically from North Carolina to Oregon, just shy of 5,000 miles.
Wow.
It's set, and you can Google it, Transamerica Trail. It was set up for dual sport motorcycles, on-road, off-road. And so as I was reading through this, I thought, well, gosh, nobody's done this on motorized mountain bikes. How neat would that be? And so I selected my brother-in-law, mainly because he was so handsome and rugged. He had never slept outside on the ground in his life in a tent.
Embellishment.
So what I said unthinkable was because, I mean, here you have little to no experience in riding a two-wheeled powered vehicle. You're 64 at the time.
Yeah, 64 and a half.
Colonel Givens
62 at the time.
62 at the time, so you're not old, but you ain't spring chickens no more.
And our friends and family thought we were nuts.
Right.
I mean, everybody
I thought you were nuts.
Well, yeah. But
when the Colonel told me what you guys were planning to do, you could ask him. I said, "Are you sure?" I think I asked you if you're sure about this several times. I said,
"Oh, it was 6 or 7 times."
Then when you guys were actually on the trail, I called incessantly.
Yes.
For first couple 3 days because.
Troy, it might have been selfish because you were worried, well, how bad would Motoped look if this guy on the trail, upside down like this?
You were never in that position, were you?
Well,
not quite.
Not after the first day.
We're going to get to that.
No,
Tell
not
me
after.
about the terrain real quick on the Transamerica Trail. So you had all different kinds of terrain, right? You had a little bit of pavement roads.
Mostly dirt and gravel and hardball. Part of what we rode through Tennessee when we talked to the developer, Sam Corrier, he said we were on one section that had quite a bit of pavement on it. And this next leg that we will have is almost all dirt and gravel, and that's what we were expecting. And we still probably had 70% dirt and gravel.
I want to ask you about water crossings, but go ahead.
We took the trail all the way to roughly Corinth, Mississippi last year and stopped.
Around 400 miles.
Yeah, around 400 miles, and and then licked whatever wounds that we had, and headed home. We had a support truck with us, Dan's brother, and a friend, and that truck kind of followed on some roads. And if you recall, I didn't know what the bikes were going to do. So I said, well, let's just fill up the back of the truck with parts. And I'm telling you that the back end of my brand new pickup truck was filled with Motoped parts.
But I remember this. I remember us talking. You asked me what wearables should we take,
Yeah.
and I give you a very, very small list, and you were like,
Man,
I think we're going to need a lot more. We're going to
yeah,
take a lot.
I think we're going to need a lot. And so by the end of the trip, we used
nothing.
we didn't use anything. We used a tire, which
that's right. Yeah.
a screw ripped out the side of my tire on the first day.
Right.
Back tire, and that was the only part.
So
we
a lot of people think, well, 400 or 500 miles. I guess that's not a huge deal not to have any wearables or any issues with the durability of the vehicle, but you had a couple of experiences, I should say a lot of experiences, but a couple of these. So you said water crossing, so somebody, I won't say who, maybe we ought to keep it.
Well, we again, being somewhat beginners, we're learning as we're going.
Right.
And the particular part of the trail that we started out on, the first 10 miles was probably the most treacherous of the 400 miles that we went. Now,
learning and yeah.
So my learning experience was too much handbrake on the front, going down a gravel road with a turn.
That's not good.
And so I paid for it with a lot of Motrin, popping those things. And then they told us in this first 10-mile stretch, there's 4 water crossings. The first 3 you can ride across, probably 3, 4, 5 feet across, something like that, maybe more. 6-8 inches. The number 4, walk your bike across. And somebody was smarter than that. I mean, we have no experience, but Mr. Givens thought, what the hell are they talking about? We can do this thing. Didn't we, Mr. Givens?
Well, I mean, I'm always looking out at the strategic view. How would a soldier do some of this? And so I drove my bike across this, and unfortunately the algae bloom on the bottom of that was
slick.
The bike went out from underneath me. The bike had been running for about 4 hours.
It was hot.
How
It was
deep
hot.
was the water?
Well, the one spot that we were going over was about a foot, but then it went over a ledge that was about
2.5, 3 foot.
2.5, 3 feet deep.
Yeah.
And so I went over complete with the bike. The bike was running.
Yeah.
The motor went upside down in the water running, and it sucked water in the engine to the point where the engine quit.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had to run over and pick him up by the shirt and haul him out because he was going to drown because we had all this extra equipment on.
Right.
There's a bit of embellishment right there. A lot of
Yeah,
embellishment.
you weren't going to die, but you were going to be hurt.
Yeah. So
So you submerge the bike, submerge.
Totally, and him too, yeah.
Get the bike out of the water, and I assume you stopped, you drained the oil, you tried to.
Didn't drain the oil.
no.
Didn't drain the oil.
We let it sit for about a half an hour.
Okay.
If that, but I was draining all the water out of my boots and sleeping bags, and it just soaked in
everything.
quite nicely. I checked the oil, and I think I really did that just to make sure there was water in it, and there was, lots of it.
Of course.
And then I thought, well, I said, if I'm running this thing to get a soldier to look at it or somebody that's escaping from something, what am I going to do? I'm just going to jump in and start it up and
what
hope for the
happens.
best.
Yeah.
So I didn't wring out any of the water out of the air cleaner. I didn't, nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
I just started kicking it. And I
Started
just
up
put
and just took
the
off.
choke on, put the throttle on full, kept kicking it. It was throwing water out. The first couple kicks was hard, and then it popped once. I put the choke back in. It started up,
Wow.
and 250 miles later, I put it in the water again.
Wow.
Because he's so smart and he learned from the first experience.
Nice. This is my brother-in-law, not by blood. Okay. So
So you put it in the water again.
yes.
Because he's so smart.
So now, here we're going to look at the bikes here in a little bit. So you guys have been riding them. You've got hundreds of more miles on them since
Right.
you've been riding them, and still haven't changed the oil.
Nope, haven't changed the oil, and purposely have really not done any maintenance to the bike at all. And you can tell. I mean, the chains are dirty. I mean, we lubed up the chains.
This was 11 months ago.
11 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you've been riding since then.
Yeah, and I mean, not.
But you haven't changed the oil, and you haven't. Yeah,
Right.
you've been riding
Not daily.
incessantly, but you've been.
And then we're going to start up on the Trans-America Trail from Corinth, Mississippi, where we left last year.
Okay.
We're starting up on the 1st of August this year, and we're going to go into Oklahoma.
Wow.
And we have an additional rider. We have Sergeant First Class Nathaniel York from the 1st Infantry Division, Fort Riley.
You got to come on over and
Step
get
right up.
This.
And
What I learned about this guy is he's a direct descendant of probably the biggest badass in the military. So your great grandfather,
great uncle.
sorry, was the most decorated soldier in World War I.
That's correct.
And so here it runs in the blood, right?
Yeah.
So and how did now? So you guys are all connected, and you're going on the trail this year.
Yes, I'm going to be added to the
You
trail.
own 2 survival motopeds.
That's correct.
That you've been riding here on base and off base, around town, trail riding, doing all kinds of types of riding here in Kansas,
Yes.
right? And then you're taking off in August with these guys.
Yeah, I'm
You're going to be
taking-
doing the Trans-America Trail.